My name is Anthony Sewell, S-E-W-E-L-L. I'm 25 years old. I manage a bike shop in New York City. I've been working in shops for about 5 years. I've been riding bicycles as long as, since I was 13 years old. It's actually when I learned how to ride a bike. One afternoon I was just hanging out with my little brother and he was like, oh, let's go ride. I never learned how to ride a bike. I skateboarded, I rollerbladed, but he was like, yo, you gotta ride a bike. And it always frustrated me not knowing how to ride a bike. And I mean, I grew up in the city. I mean, I'm from the Bronx, and like everyone like rides bikes out there. There's like skate parks out there you can ride, and it was really fun. So I got to learn in the afternoon. He was just like, keep pedaling. Momentum's your best friend. And that same afternoon, we were jumping ramps, and I've kind of always been like the bike guy in my neighborhood. I always like rode around with my little bike with a little wrench in my pocket because I had like cheap, shitty parts on my BMX bike, and you jump in ramps all afternoon, the back wheel's gonna get loose, you know. So you have to know what's up with your bike, and so I always worked on my bike in the basements and stuff. It's a very family-oriented bike shop, as well as you know, something for the 9-to-5er. You know, we get a lot of people moving in from other places, and they just, you know, looking for a bike just to kind of go back and forth to work from. So a lot of commuting and a lot of exercise riding. Nothing too high end. We're designed to kind of, you know, cater to the everyday person, whether it's a little kid's birthday, NYU student just looking for a all-around, you know, kick-around bike, or for a retiree who's just looking to run errands on their days off and stuff. You know, we have a range of cycling gear from like rain jackets, fenders, keep it dry, helmets, of course, lights. Get lights because now it's by law to have a front and back light when riding at night in New York City. Kind of went on a little hiatus with bikes throughout high school. Went on the, you know, like fashion stuff, you know, you're all in clothes, it's just that kind of stuff, and hanging out, partying. And it wasn't until first year of college I was like, all right, I'm bored of this class party. I need to get my bike back. So I went to a BMX shop in Queens somewhere, and they were getting ready to close. I remember calling them like, what's your cheapest BMX bike? And a friend of mine drove me over there. The car broke down halfway through. They had to call their dad to fix the car, gave him a jump, and then we were able to make it to the bike shop, like right as they were closing. I got the bike, and I started riding with some friends I had bumped into in high school a few days back. And before you know it, I was like riding around with like all of these like pro BMX riders in New York, and I was hanging out at this one shop. It was the Metro Bikes down at Canal Street, and I was always hanging around there, ordered a pair of shoes, and it was taking a while for my shoes to come in, so I would stop by every week and see if my shoes got there. And one day the guy was like, hey, do you want to work? Do you want to pick up some hours in the shop? I'm like, yeah, sure. So yeah, and so I've just been here since then, and I couldn't finish school at the time. Kind of ran out of money to go back to school, so luckily I had a full-time job to pay for rent, so I just got an apartment at that point. But as far as like cycling, that's my little background, cycling in the city. I mean, I've always, let's see, for the past 8 years, always on my bike, whether it's going to work or to a friend's house. The train, no. As cheap as it is, no. But as far as like cycling, how much in New York, it's an interesting thing. I'd say it's the biggest freedom. I see the world, and I see the city so much differently just from cycling. I have a different mindset. Everything is pretty close. It could be, you know, 8 miles away. It's like, no, that's close. You know, here we are in downtown Manhattan. Brooklyn, that's close. The Bronx, that's close, because everything is at most 30 minutes away on bicycle. So everything's very close. And everyone's like, I'm all the way over here. I don't know if I can meet, I don't know if I can get a train or a cab over there. It's like, what are you talking about? You're like 3 blocks away, you know, but cycling, it's different too. I mean, like, at one point, I want to say somewhere before the 21st century, cycling, if you rode in the city, you were a kook, you were a weirdo. Like, why, for leisure, riding in the park, if you do race, that's one thing, but to like ride a bike for the sake of utility was like, well, you're a weirdo. Why can't you just like get a cab or pay someone to do that, or just Like, nah, it's exercise, you know, you get to see everything at your own speed. You know, you don't have to worry about, oh, when I commute, do I have to take into consideration the chances of train failure or a rail fire or something like that, or train derailing like it did yesterday morning, or the 6 train. But there's, depending on who you ask, there's a sour taste in some people's mouths as far as like where cycling is now. There's a lot of people, you know, jumping on the band, like just cashing in on it because it's in the New Yorker or the Times, Times magazine. It's like, oh, cycling in New York City, it's cheap, it's healthy, you know, it's practical. The minute practicality becomes trendy, you're far removed from like, you know, what you started off with, just 2 wheels and some free time. Now it's like, all right, I gotta make sure that my Vans have the right amount of holes in them. I gotta make sure that my pants are like rolled a certain way. My messenger bag has to be on like a certain way. None of that stuff has anything to do with cycling, you know, just like the whole like fashion aspect of it, you know, like, I mean, and another way to look at it too is even with all the trends, it kind of keeps the cycling industry growing too, because the most popular thing in the cycling industry in the past like couple of years was like the single speed stuff, like the fixed gear movement, you know. I mean, there's one argument that the single speed bike is very simple, low maintenance, it's lightweight, something that, I mean, simplicity is a novelty. I mean, everyone's going towards simplicity, you know, less is more. But all the things that kind of evolved around it, I thought was kind of had a negative impact on cycling. People who come into cycling now think that you have to look a certain way or act a certain way, behave a certain way, or ride a certain kind of bike. You see it all the time, like, you know, the jockey guy with like the track bike, and then, you know, he's shopping for a bicycle with his friend or his girlfriend, and all they want to do is just have a bike and be comfortable on, and they just want to have fun. But the guy, you know, the person that brought them in, it's just like, hey, you need to ride what I ride. It's like, no, whatever makes you happy. Like, you'll see it, like the husband's telling the wife, honey, you need this. And it's like, honestly, isn't your wife's happiness more important? So if she's comfortable on a bike, isn't that gonna make her happy? Isn't that what's important to you? But everyone wants to kind of build, I don't know, like this fantasy world. Everyone wants to kind of live in a certain, you know, box. And I just think that's not, it's not helpful. Not even just helpful towards cycling, but as like the world and society, like there's some things that just don't matter, you know what I mean? I think we put more energy into the things that don't matter, and the things that are of major importance, we kind of look at as trivial. So, I mean, that's kind of like, where cycling is at right now. I mean, it's great when you got people coming in just like looking at rain jackets. It's like, yo, I can use this in my everyday life. You know, opposed to, hey, what color road tires you have? Because I want to skid. And it's just like, yo, man, I'm here selling a function, not a fashion. One thing we can ask for, kind of in writing, but just to raise your, you know, personal awareness level, you know, what's going on around you. Just take a second, breathe, harmonize with your fellow, you know, humans. But as far as cycling, I think the raise in bike lanes is gonna help, you know, improve cycling conditions. But also, too, yeah. I mean, that's really it. It's one of those things where you're not gonna have like town meetings on it. Like, how can we improve the bike lanes? But you know, lead by example. So I think the majority of the cycling community just keeps doing what they're doing. Those who know what's good are going to catch on and jump on the bandwagon. It's a positive bandwagon. You know what? It's not even a bandwagon. It's life. It's fun. There's no cool card, there's no cool club card member for life and fun. So, yeah, I'm Anthony Sewell, and I'm checking out.